I am back with Abigail Aaronson, who just read a sample of Lavender and Gin. And this scene that you brought to us, an almost first kiss scene, really sets the stage. It is so immersive. And I noticed it really spoke out to me that, you described it as a queer speakeasy, but then in the actual narrative, there's also mention of all these different, immigrant groups and races, and everyone is hanging out and having fun at this speakeasy. So I guess my first question is how much of this is your imagination and how much of it is something that you found in the historical record?
So it became really clear to me when I was researching the pansy and lesbian craze, which started in the 30s, that the history of queer bars and immigrant neighborhoods and Black neighborhoods was so intertwined. I mean, if you look at the Harlem Renaissance, Black artists and queer artists were one and the same. They were producing all of this amazing art at the time. And so some of these spaces over the 20s, the jazz clubs, the Black speakeasies became hugely popular with groups that called it going slumming. It was usually, people from wealthier neighborhoods that were coming into first immigrant neighborhoods throughout the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And then the Black clubs became popular, the jazz clubs became popular, Black neighborhoods became the place that people, white, wealthier people were coming in and, finding their kicks in. And then eventually that transferred to the pansy and lesbian craze, where queer bars hit a height in their popularity. Had a
Mm.
lot of people coming in order to experience what felt like sort of a dangerous underground community to them. And that was very like titillating and exciting for people, like a break from their regimented daily lives. So the history of queer bars and Black owned bars, jazz bars, is inextricably intertwined. There was segregation. There were, spaces in, Black neighborhoods that were primarily for Black patrons of those queer bars. But the influence of Black culture on speakeasies is impossible to ignore. And there was absolutely some overlap, both because there were limited queer spaces for people to go to, and because, people were already, there was a ton of cultural overlap that I think we sometimes forget about at that time
Hmm.
period.